It is 3 a.m., August 8th, 1963. A remote patch of track in Buckinghamshire, England. This isn't just a train, it is the Royal Mail's Up Special. It carries no passengers, no security guards, no police, just 72 postal workers sorting mail and something else. In the second carriage behind the engine, there are 128 sacks. They aren't filled with letters. They are filled with used banknotes, £2.5 million. In today's money, that is over $50 million. 15 men are hiding in the grass. They are not soldiers. They are not spies. They are thieves, dreamers, and gamblers. They are about to execute the most audacious heist in British history. They have a plan. They have the skills. They have the perfect team. But they also have a weakness that will destroy them all over a game of Monopoly. To understand the crime, you must understand the man who designed it. Bruce Reynolds. Bruce didn't look like a criminal. He looked like a stockbroker. He loved cool jazz, expensive wine, and antique furniture. He wore suits from Savile Row and drove an Aston Martin. He viewed crime not as violence, but as a business venture. But his business was running low on capital. He needed one big score to retire forever. He assembled the firm, the best in the business. Gordon Goody, the strategist who paid attention to every detail, down to the color of their socks. Buster Edwards, a former boxer who wasn't afraid to get physical. And Charlie Wilson, the silent man, whose mere presence commanded respect. But they needed inside information, and it came from a mysterious man known only as the Ulsterman.
The Ulsterman says the high-value package is moving tonight. Old bills, on their way to be burned in London.
How much are we talking, Bruce? A few thousand?
Millions, Gordon. Millions. It's cash. Untraceable. Used notes. We stop the train at Sears Crossing, move it to the bridge, unload, and vanish. And the train crew? No firearms. I want this clean. We take control, we move the loot, we leave. 15 minutes. Nobody plays the hero, nobody gets hurt.
Reynolds was obsessed with a clean job, no guns. He wanted to be a gentleman thief, but, as they would soon find out, in the heat of the moment, even the best plans can turn messy. The plan relied on a simple piece of technology, a battery. Roger Corddry, the gang's electronics expert, knew that if you powered the red light manually, the train had to stop. They waited. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. These men had families, businesses, lives.
It's 3:02. Where is it?
It's coming. Keep your head down.
What if the driver sees the trap? What if he blows the whistle?
Then we abort. But he won't. To him, it's just a red light. Relax, Buster. Think about the money.
The trap snapped shut. The fireman was overpowered instantly. But inside the engine, the driver, Jack Mills, was a tough man. He didn't just hand over the keys, he fought back. In the struggle, one of the robbers struck Mills over the head with a heavy iron bar. It was a sickening sound. The non-violent heist had just drawn blood. Note, this is the moment the public turned against them later.
Move it! Get this thing to the bridge!
I can't! The pressure brakes! It's a different model!
You, drive it, now, or you'll never see London again.
Irony. The greatest heist in history was almost ruined because they couldn't drive the getaway vehicle. They had to force the bleeding victim to drive his own train to the robbery point. They had 30 minutes before the alarm would be raised in the next town. They tossed 120 bags out of the train and down the embankment to the waiting Land Rovers and trucks. They left behind 7 bags simply because they ran out of time. They left nearly 200,000 pounds behind, just sitting on the floor. That's how much money there was.
That's the last of the big ones. Let's go.
Check the perimeter. Don't leave anything behind. Gloves on. We're clear. Let's vanish.
They had the money, but now they were the most wanted men in Britain. When Jack Mills came to in the empty locomotive, he found only a looted carriage and deep tire tracks stretching into the pre-dawn darkness. Dawn found an army of detectives on Bridego Bridge, recording every clue, from cut wires to tire treads, while the wounded driver pointed police in the direction of the gang's escape. Notices were already being issued and roadblocks were being set up across the country. The game of Gentlemen of Fortune had ended, and the largest manhunt in British history had begun. Leatherslade Farm, 27 miles from the crime scene. For a few days, it was paradise. They counted the loot. It totaled £2,631,684. They divided it into shares. Even the guys who just watched the cars got a fortune. To pass the time, they played Monopoly. But they didn't use the fake paper money from the box. They used the real stolen loot. Imagine placing a hotel on Mayfair using a stack of real £5 notes.
They know. They are too close. We paid for this place for weeks. Doesn't matter. The circle is closing. We have to leave. Now. Split up.
Panic set in. They had to abandon the farm immediately. But the place was covered in fingerprints on the beer bottles, the ketchup, the Monopoly board. Reynolds paid a man, an associate, £10,000 to come back and burn the farmhouse to the ground after they left. £10,000 was a fortune. All the man had to do was light a match, but the man took the money and never showed up. It was the fatal error. An anonymous call marks the beginning of the end. A detective frantically jots down the address, Leatherslade Farm, while Wolseley patrol cars race through the Buckinghamshire morning fog. The officers burst into the dark, abandoned house, shining their flashlights on the abandoned piles of mailbags and empty beer bottles. Amidst the chaos, the investigators find that fateful clue, a Monopoly board strewn with genuine banknotes and greasy fingerprints. In the sterile silence of the lab, camera flashes capture every smear on the ketchup bottles, transforming the burglars' carelessness into irrefutable evidence in the police files. At headquarters, the first photographs of faces appear on the board, and the printing presses are already printing arrest warrants for Britain's most wanted men. Bruce Reynolds, counting his share in his cozy living room, is frozen by a sharp knock and a shout of, "Open up, police!" He is led out in handcuffs under the gaze of stunned neighbors, while his dreams of a comfortable life are driven away in a blue police van. Gordon Goody finds himself trapped in his own apartment, and Buster Edwards is arrested right at his workplace in front of his shocked colleagues. Charlie Wilson tries to cheat fate to the last, jumping over a fence, but the police tackle him to the ground in a dirty alley. In the interrogation room, the gang's former glamour fades completely when the detective, with a triumphant smile, places photographs of a Monopoly board on the table. Reynolds' face contorts with shock. He realizes that the perfect crime has been ruined by a child's game. While Goody and Buster are speechless at the evidence presented, Wilson simply stares silently at the concrete wall, accepting the inevitable. While lawyers in expensive suits rush to their locked-in clients, the prosecutor methodically stitched together mountains of evidence into a devastating indictment. Newspaper headlines across the country exploded in screaming fonts. "Train robbers caught," instantly turning the criminals into the nation's leading anti-heroes. In smoky pubs, ordinary workers heatedly discussed the irony of fate over a pint, how a daring plan worth millions had collapsed because of a children's board game. The courtroom is packed with journalists and onlookers eager to see the kings fall, while the judge sternly bangs his gavel for silence. Injured engine driver Jack Mills staggers as he testifies, his trembling finger pointing toward the dock, chilling the atmosphere in the courtroom. Experts present the very same game box to the court, and defense attorneys nervously adjust their ties, unable to dispute the fingerprints on a Heinz ketchup bottle. Reynolds and Goody attempt to defend themselves in the witness box, but under the prosecutor's cross-examination, their cases crumble before their eyes. After long hours of agonizing deliberation in the deliberation room, the jurors return stony-faced. The foreman rises and utters the fateful "guilty," which echoes throughout the hushed courtroom, eliciting sobs from the families of the convicted. The judge delivers his final speech, driving the nail into the coffin of their freedom. And under the blinding light of hundreds of flashbulbs, the robbers are led to the prison van. The van's heavy steel door slams shut with a clang they will remember for the next 30 years. The heavy gates of Pentonville Prison slam shut behind them, transforming the daring raiders into faceless numbers in rough prison uniforms. The registration process, the humiliating process of fingerprinting, and endless corridors became a new reality for Bruce Reynolds and his team. While some tried to survive the harsh hierarchy of yard fights, Charlie Wilson was already preparing his daring response to the system. A note in the laundry room and a rope ladder under cover of night restored his freedom to the wail of prison sirens. For the rest, time dragged on slowly and inexorably, forever changing their destinies upon release. Buster Edwards traded his dreams of millions for a modest flower stall by the train station, while Gordon Goody chose to disappear forever under the hot Spanish sun. Architect Reynolds himself whiled away the years transcribing the story of his triumph and downfall onto paper. When appeals finally opened the prison doors for him, he emerged into a world that had almost forgotten him, leaving behind only the legend of the most sensational case of the century. But was it worth it? Most of the money was never recovered, but it didn't bring them happiness. The curse of the train robbers followed them. Buster Edwards ended his own life in a garage. Divorces, paranoid lives on the run, strange accidents.
We wanted to be kings. We had the world in a few canvas bags. But you can't buy freedom, and you certainly can't buy peace of mind.
The Great Train Robbery was a masterpiece of planning and a disaster of execution. They stole a fortune, but they paid for it with the rest of their lives. Sometimes the heavy bag isn't the one you carry out of the train. It's the one you carry in your conscience.